Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Crusader. It's a tier 6 British light tank. Used to be a medium tank. It's located on the north spawn of Redshire and it's under the command of Elirox. Now, yes, as I said, this used to be a medium tank, and in fact it was the first medium tank on the line before you got to the Cromwell. But Wargaming decided to change it into a light tank instead. Now let's have a look and see which armament he's managed to get. Well, looking at this, it's the 57mm, that's the 6-pounder. Capable of 75 alpha, penetrating 110mm with the standard, and that goes up to 180 with the APCR. Now it's quite a sluggish light tank, you might say. Well, that's really because it's got medium stats, and Wargaming haven't really adjusted it at all. But they make quite a lot of this tank. Huge number, over 5,000, I think 5,700, and most of them saw service in the Western Desert. I say Western Desert, North Africa is where they served, and he spotted a Cromwell, but he didn't open fire. He's just indicated target and requested fire on them. Over by the Zeppelin, a T-67 was spotted. He takes a pot shot at him, but nope, doesn't get it. 2-second reload with the 6-pounder gun. It is equivalent to the Soviet 57mm, and with that sort of reload time, you can actually put out quite a decent amount of DPM, which means that if the enemy, if you did come across the enemy, you can do quite a lot of damage to them very, very quickly. He didn't get spotted, so he spotted a Cromwell over there, and the Cromwell's looking over here. He didn't fire though. He probably didn't want to get spotted, and there's an M8A1 over there. Now he might have been able to fire at him using the Bush Mechanic, but instead he's holding back at the moment, just spotting these guys, and as a consequence he's actually already earned a spotter badge. T-67 down in the valley. He's making a little nest for himself. He spotted a leopard who's come up on top of the hill, and he probably wants to deal with that guy because he's actually fairly close to our Bert. And yeah, he doesn't want to lose a teammate simply because he didn't fend off an enemy. In fact, Bert's actually retreating now back down to the A line. Okay, this is a much better position here. And still got sight on that leopard, but the leopard saw him this time. Oh, he's locked on now. He has to engage this guy, but he gets him out with one shot. Luckily, thanks to his teammates pumping those rounds in from lower down. So he did his job as a spotter, and he's now up to 1.8k of damage spotted. Got a Wolverine over there, but he's behind the houses. Didn't lock on. They're in the village, so not a lot he can do from here. Oh, no, he can fire that one in, and it went straight through the side of the Thunderbolt. Okay. Nothing really that he can easily shoot at. They are some distance away, those targets, as well. Popping up on the hill actually does give him a good vantage point. Looks like the Thunderbolt's the one that's pushing forward. The Wolverine's sitting at the back. He's moving the reticule backwards and forwards because he wasn't certain he was going to be able to get an outline. Wolverine is badly damaged. But our T-34 is being fairly badly damaged as well. Oh, enemy behind us. T-28E, T-28, VK-2801. And over there, the M4A1 that he saw earlier. Fortunately, he was seen there. So yeah, it had to pull back. It looks like that was a shot from the Bert. Just flew right over the top of our tank. Now, Elirox has had the Crusader for a short while, so he's not fully up to speed on it yet, still working his way through it, and he wanted to go down the British light line so he could use the other British lights further up the line, the Senlac and the GSOR and the like. And oh, nice one, that's good. gave it to us, and well, that tree's in the way. He's not getting spotted because of that, but he's got some lovely shots on that guy. Tracked him. Come on, one more. Yes, he gets the kill. Of course, the Crusaders were actually replaced by the Sherman and the M3 Lee during the war because, of course, they weren't very effective against the German tanks, and the M3s and the M4s were actually a lot better at handling German armour. Crusaders had a bit of a problem in the desert, mainly because the dust, the sand, it really does cause problems for the mechanics. Oh, that VK ran into the wall. Make him pay. It was a driving fail there. He didn't look where he was going. He was more intent on shooting his gun and getting hits, and unfortunately for him, just drove straight into a wall, stopped dead flat, and well, Elirox got a hit into him for it. He just needs to watch out he doesn't run into the SU-122A, who's a little further forward than he would like, I think. He's sitting in that bush there. The Soviet Arty with a very narrow field of fire. There's only 4 left on his team. Unfortunately, there are 8 enemies out there. Yeah, unfortunately, the rest of his team have faded away around him, and they've kind of left him in the lurch. So he's now having to do most of the work. All the guys up in that corner got killed. The T-67's pulling back. The SU-122A should pull back as well, but well, he's wedded himself to that bush. And now we've got the Wolverine coming in from the village. It looks like he survived. Oh, no, I tell a lie. The T-67 finished him off. But we've got a pair of T-67s coming this way, and one of them is a fairly good player. There he is, but he's stopped, and now he's going to pay for that. Oh, he auto-aimed on, and he's on the move, which meant obviously the inaccuracy of the Crusader comes in. It's not very accurate tank on the move. In fact, it wasn't a very good accurate tank when it was a medium, but it was just passable if you've got enough experience. He's trying to death circle this T-67. He gets rid of him, and that was a decent player taken down by the Crusader's ability to have that withering rate of fire with the 57mm, the 6-pounder gun. Don't think that particular player did anything wrong. Oh, VK's behind you. VK's behind you. Yep, he's suddenly spotted on his minimap. Always keep an eye on your minimap. You never know. And it does help if you go to situational awareness, you know, third person mode like this, because then at least you can see what you're doing, where the enemy is. He's keeping his eyes on that target, auto aimed on, and there goes the VK. So now it's 3 versus 4. So he's actually done a good job, because he got a kill, a couple of kills, and one of his teammates also got a couple of kills. The T-67. Oh, unfortunately, I spoke too soon. That T-67 just got wiped out by their Type 58. Yeah, Chinese medium has just killed the other best player on the team. And now we are all alone with the SU-122A, who probably won't survive very long because he's got a very slow Arty. He locks onto the T-34, tries to death circle this guy. Goes down the hill to start with to get the speed so he can turn around this guy and should get him with one more. Yep, nice. Trouble is he has traded a fair number of hit points. He's down to less than half his health now. In fact, 35%, about a third of his health. And he's still got that Type 58 to deal with, and we've lost the SU-122A, I'm afraid. He's gone. So he's all alone against 3. The enemy's got an M44, an M10, and there's the Type 58. And the Type 58 has got slightly more health than we've got. He now needs to load the APCR and just go in. Yes, that's what he's doing. And we've got the M10 coming up behind us. He might be able to get this Type 58. Oh no, the gun depression lets him down. And he kills the Type 58. But what's that M10 going to do? Because he's full health. And there's an M44 on their team as well. And there's the M44 landing a shot. Obviously, as he was retreating, the M44 knew his path, ran into the T-34. He needs to get out of there now. and engage on his own terms. Ideally, he needs to head south, find out where that M44 is and kill him. And then he's only got the M10 to deal with after that. But he definitely needs to disengage. If the M10 starts capping, then he's going to have to come back. But ideally, after he's killed the M44. So he's headed down into this corner of the map. The M44's got a view range of about 260 meters. Oh, there's the M44 on the move. He's headed towards the cap to try and start the cap. He must know he's been spotted. And Elirox uses his gun, his sixth sense, his bush mechanic to actually get a shot into the M10. But the M44 saw him, so they both know where he is now. And the M44, I think, stopped to turn and get his gun laid on him. So he's having to move and get the hell out of there because Elirox is an Arty player and he knows how deadly the M44 is. Nice to see that the M44 driver was thinking on his feet. He moved from his position to not only to get up towards the cap and help the M10 cap, but also because he realised that there's a very good chance that Elirox was going to be coming down to find him and kill him down at this end of the map. I would not be surprised if one of them started capping very shortly, possibly the M44, whilst the M10 watches out for him to come back and get a reset. There's the M44, so it's the M10 who's capping. He puts one into the M44, misses with the next one. He's auto-aiming. No, the guy's behind the houses. No, and he's gone down into the river now to use the embankments as cover. Auto-aiming onto that will just fire the shells into the ground. Now, ideally, he would drive straight towards the M44, kill him whilst he's still in the river, whilst he's vulnerable, and then go for the reset. But I think Elirox is actually going to go for the reset and then deal with the M44. He's looking to see if he can see the M44 as he's on the way. And I have the feeling he's going to go up onto that tree there, or the bush there. It's a knockdown tree actually now. And then see if he can spot the M10 in the cap and get some shots into him to get the reset. Needs to move a bit closer. Wait for it. The binoculars will kick in. They've kicked in. There he is. He's locked back, locked on, pulls back for the bush mechanic, fires one in, gets the reset. And he's just going to keep pumping these shells now until he can get the kill on the M10. Needs to move forward again just to see where he is. He might have moved. Okay, pulls back again, but was he seen? Yes, he was seen. Now the M10, oh, fires at him directly and wipes him out. He didn't pull back all the way after reacquiring the M10, and he was spotted, and that was enough. The M10 only needed to know which bush he was in and where, and that was the end of the game. So, valiant try by Elirox. Unfortunately, on this occasion, it didn't work out, but it was a good try, very good try, and here's really good results. He not only got his first ace tanker in the Crusader. You can say it's the first one because he's got the scrolls underneath. You only get the scrolls the first time. He also managed to get his first mark of excellence during that battle. So he's topped the 65% mark on the amount of damage that he does on an average. His fighter effect also for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle. A fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He ended up with 5, just one short of getting a top gun. Sharpshooter badge for getting 10 or more consecutive shots on the enemy. A master gunner for getting 5 armor penetrating hits in a row on the enemy. A duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him. And also a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one he managed to get 7. And he picked up a couple of battle hero medals in this one as well. He got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. And he also got a defender because he reset the cap whilst the M10 was capping. Got at least 70 defense points in the process. And so this is a pretty good game. Even though it was a loss, it was a loss only because he made one brief technical error. He pulled back whilst he was still in sight of the enemy and fired. And the M10 saw him. and that was it. As far as the M10 needed, one shot was all it was necessary, and he was out the game. So, good try by Elirox. I'm sure he's going to come back with some more videos on the Crusader in the future. It wasn't my favourite tank when I went down the line, and I must admit that really I only used it as a stepping stone to get to the Cromwell, because of course the Cromwell is a lot more fun than the Crusader, which I thought was a bit wet and weak is my description, even though there was a lot more of these tanks earlier on in the war than there was Cromwells towards the end of the war. In fact, actually, I think they eventually made more Cromwells, but the thing is that the Crusader is actually quite an interesting tank technically wise, but in fact I know that one gentleman down at the Tank Museum wants to get onto the Crusader and actually restore one of them, because that's his next favourite project. I think they're working on the Churchills at the moment, but the Crusader I think is one that he definitely wants to restore. And so yes, I think it would be an interesting tank to see that one roaming around the arena at Bovington and seeing how it actually performs, and then obviously everyone will get to learn the technical aspects of the Crusader when of course they do the workshop diaries, and so we get to see what it looks like inside out. If you enjoyed this, actually, I think we haven't gone through the rest of the details. Let's have a look. He got a win 8 of that one. 24,079. 24,007. That's a huge score on the win 8. It just goes to show the amount of effort he had to put in that battle to get where he did. And he was so close to winning as well, because if he'd taken down the M10, I think the M44 would have fallen, and that would have been the end of the game. If we look at the team score, we can see he definitely got the highest damage in the game, 2,669, but there was somebody else who managed to get almost as much. 2,065 hit points went to the Type 58, and he would have killed the Type 58 a lot sooner if it wasn't for the poor gun depression on the Crusader as he was actually fighting him. And after all as well, there were a pair of really good players on the enemy team in the T67s. 1,551 hit points went to the one of them, and 1,136 went to the other ones. They both managed to pick up Confederate medals, and they were both in platoons, so I think these guys are SEAL clubbers, and they caught the wrong player on the wrong moment. They came across Elirox and he punished them for it. And of course the other good player on their team was on Elirox's team was the Rudy, and he managed to get 1,745 hit points before he was wiped out. When it came to kills, yes, it's Elirox. 5 kills, 1/3 of the enemy team. 4 kills for the Type 58, 3 kills for the T67, the M10 on the enemy team, and that included Elirox, and also the T67 on his own team. When it came to base XP, it was the Type 58 who did best with 948, but Elirox wasn't that far behind him with 908, and the next high score after that was the T67, the Unicum, with 674. Elirox fired 60 rounds of 6-pounder ammunition, 46 direct hits and 40 penetrations. It's a decent gun, but he was firing a lot of APCR. At least I think he was firing a lot of APCR. Well, was, yes. And he did 2,669 hit points of damage, of which 900 were up more than 300 meters. He received 7 hits from the enemy, 6 of those were penetrations. Yeah, the armor on the Crusader is not that good. 1 non-penetration and 1 hit by way of splash damage from the M44 as he was departing an area. He spotted 6 enemy vehicles, damaged 9 of the enemy, killed 5, did 2,252 hit points of spotting assist in that game. 94 defense points, he reset the cap enough, almost got 100, and on a free-to-play account he earned 35,111 credits, got 3,060 for courageous resistance, that's for getting a battle hero or an epic medal and being in a losing or drawn team, and his total 38,171, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables, he actually took away a profit of 12,754 credits, but I think that ammunition cost is a little light because he did fire quite a lot of APCR during that game, so I suspect he already had quite a lot of ammo in stock already, and that's why his ammunition costs were smaller. He earned 908 base XP, got 496 for courageous resistance, and took away 1,404 altogether from that lot. So good game in the Crusader. Pity it was a loss, but I suppose you put that down to the fact that he hasn't played a huge number of battles in it yet, and of course it was that one minor error when he pulled back and was still in sight of the M10 when he fired, and the M10 immediately saw him and thought, right, okay, because that M10 has got a decent gun and he only need one hit on Elirox in his current state to take him out the game. Pity, but it was a good try. If you enjoyed that replay, please give this video a like and do subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.